Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for coming out. I'm Vahan Ajamian, Managing Director of Analyst Relations at MedMen. I used to be an analyst in my past life covering the marijuana sector. Then I saw the light and joined MedMen, I guess, almost a year ago. Next month will be a full year. What I find interesting is, I've seen a lot of presentations, I'm sure, today, yesterday. Different companies trying to decide where is the ultimate value going to be as the industry matures, where's the optimal strategic positioning they should have, and catering their business that way. Let me be clear from the outset, for MedMen, we are a retailer. Everything we do, and we do other things, we do grow, we do create our own products, but ultimately everything we do is done with the sole intention of improving the customer experience in our stores and improving the retail margin. So let's talk about a little bit about mission and vision. So I'd argue at this stage of the industry, we're pretty much still all startups. We all see what's happening, obviously big changes this morning in the news regarding the industry and how things will eventually shake out. But ultimately, we're all startups. And startups need to have vision, that drive. You get up in the morning and what type of company do I want to build and where do I want to be? And vision is great, and we all need to have that vision so that collectively as peers, we can all build this industry and be successful for everybody. At the same time, I think there's enough data out there, there's enough of a track record for investors to take a step back and try to separate the vision from the reality. What do you have right now? Never mind the lofty ambitions and what you're going to do and where you're going to be. What do you have in hand right now? So the way we've structured the presentation is vision versus reality. So let's start off with the reality. Okay. So this is the reality of MedMen today. Actually, it's a little bit outdated. We pre-released our March quarter revenue results, but let's touch on it. This is everything we have today. This isn't what we're hoping to build. This isn't what we plan to do. We have licenses right now for 82 stores across the United States. 32 of them are open today. So we are obviously licensed for another 50 that we're still going to be building. We're across 12 states, but ultimately I think investors should take a step back. The numbers are great. We're very proud of our footprint. We're proud of what we have. But ultimately, it's not about how many stores you have or how many states you're in. It's the quality of the locations. And if you look under the hood, what MedMen has, the stores are in Beverly Hills. They're in Abbot Kinney, which GQ calls the coolest block in America. Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. Las Vegas right next to the Strip. This is ultimately where pop culture trends start, where brands are built, and they emanate throughout the rest of the country and then the world. Also, if you look at the number of states we're in, I think people, in their slide decks, they say, okay, we're in 12 states. Well, we just entered some state with less than 1 million people. Well, now we're in 16 states, not 15, therefore the implication is we're worth more. I think investors have to, over time, take a deeper look under the hood as to what companies actually have, right? What are your locations? What is your revenue in these states? What is your market share in these states? What is your path to maintaining that market share and revenue, growing it, and replicating it into other areas over time? If you look at the financials, I said these are the numbers before we pre-released the quarter on Monday morning. For the March quarter, it was 37 million that we'll be reporting on the revenue side, including all the acquisitions we've already announced, not stuff we're going to do. It was 55 million, which puts us at a $220 million US revenue run rate today, annualized. This isn't, what we're looking at in the future, taking credit cards, New York going adult use, building out all our stores in Florida. This is a $220 million business today in hand, which I believe makes us the largest among all the US operators. And as I mentioned, we have licenses for 82 stores. But again, looking deeper under the hood, here's the footprint. We're very proud of our national footprint. But importantly, 2/3 of our store licenses are in our 4 key markets: California, Nevada, New York, Florida. Again, this is where trends start. This is where brands are built and spread out throughout the country. But particularly with the acquisition of PharmaCann, we've now established a national footprint. So we'll get into a position where somebody from Illinois travels to Las Vegas, has a great time, has a great experience in our store. When they go back home to Las Vegas, there's a MedMen close by that they can go and look to replicate that experience, the brand they've already had an association with. Let's talk about California. California is the ultimate prize, especially in retail, I would say in any industry. Obviously 40 million population, the 5th largest economy of the world, but there's something strategic, not just the quantum of people you have, but the trend-setting nature that you have in California. There's a reason that other large retailers in other areas, such as Whole Foods, Costco, Nordstrom, there's a reason they have more stores in California more than anywhere else. And even if you adjust for population, it's disproportionate number of stores in California. Because the truth is in retail, if you win California, if you establish a dominance there, if you have a good market share and a good following, you are in a position to run the table on the other states. In our opinion, it's going to be much easier for us as MedMen have built out an established adult use company in California to export that model to other states than it might be for other companies that have some medical clinics in the Northeast or Midwest looking to export that model into California. And we're already seeing signs of that. We reported on Monday that our store in Paradise, Nevada in Las Vegas was now, for the March quarter, our 2nd highest performing store in terms of revenue for the quarter. To give you some context, that store in Las Vegas is the closest one to the McCarran Airport. It's right next to this store called Liquor World, which is the largest liquor store in all of Nevada. That store, so people stop off and it becomes a one-stop shop. You get your cannabis, you get your alcohol, and wherever you're going on the strip, you're good to go for the weekend. So for some perspective, that store opened in October. 3 months in, it's already our 2nd best performing store in our network. And again, digging deeper into California, it's not just that we're in California with some small grow in the corner somewhere. We have our locations, downtown Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, West Hollywood, right by the LAX airport, Abbot Kinney, Venice Beach. So to put some perspective on our market share in California, in the September quarter, when we reported, we had a 5.2% market share in the whole state, and we had 8 stores all in Southern California. Flash forward to the December quarter, the same 8 stores, our market share went up from 5.2% to 7% in the whole state. For perspective, we don't believe anybody is at more than 1% market share in California. It's extremely fragmented. Today, we have 10 stores that are open in California, and we're building out the other 2 that we're licensed for. And as you can see, we're publicly stating our goal to more than double our footprint in the coming years in California. Well. Okay. So let's talk about our track record of retail and why retail. As I mentioned at the outset, we are predominantly a retailer. These are the numbers, revenue per square foot in our stores in California, just under 8,000, significantly higher than some of the other top tier retailers in their respective sectors. So why do we focus on retail? Well, cannabis legalization structurally favors the retailers. You have 2/3 of Americans that are in favor of legalizing adult use cannabis, but there is still a very large NIMBY element to this industry. So retailers have that structural advantage by the limited licenses. So there's only 10 in the entire state of New York. In Los Angeles, you have 10 million people, but you only have less than 200 licensed legal stores. The second component is the zoning restrictions. So if in Los Angeles, for example, you have to be 700 feet from a school, a church, a library, a daycare center, and critically, another dispensary. So when MedMen goes and gets the only location that's compliant in Beverly Hills, which we did, or Fifth Avenue, and then you open a store there and you create a moat of 700 feet around your own business, that is defensible strategy. And if you want to have as a brand your product on our shelves in Beverly Hills and Abbot Kinney, you have to talk to MedMen. Second, retailers control the supply chain. A lot of investors look at alcohol as an analogy. In alcohol, the brands and the distributors tend to have all the power, and the retailers are sort of at the bottom at their mercy. Alcohol is very different than cannabis. In cannabis, there are no 3-tier laws. There's nothing stopping retailers from putting their own product on the shelf the way there is in the alcohol situation. If you look at, for those who follow the saga of Kraft Heinz, about 2 months or so ago, after they reported their quarter and some of their troubles, the next morning Warren Buffett was on CNBC and talking a lot about these points. He said last quarter Kraft Heinz went toe-to-toe against the retailers, and we found out we didn't have the power we thought we did. Then the last 10 years, the growth in CPG products and CPG brands has all been private label. He went on to say that if you look at Kraft Heinz, they have a 150-year history. They've spent a fortune on advertising, been part of your life every day since you were a kid. They're available worldwide. And Costco goes around 25 years ago with 750 locations. And his last year, Costco sold 50% more Kirkland product than all of Kraft Heinz did internationally. So that's the model, that's where we're going for. Being a national retailer also allows you to take advantage of local trends. So people want to buy local, that's obviously a big trend. Being a national retailer, you can customize your shelf space based on that. And ultimately, you have the relationship with the customer. The customer comes into your store, you get the data and the relationship with the underlying customer. Let's talk about culture. I'm sure you've seen a lot of companies today talking about building a house of brands, talking about the product brands that they have. We would argue the only brand that has any real resonance currently is MedMen. Similar to Whole Foods, people come in with a brand they trust is the brand that's on the door. You walk in and your relationship, the brand you know is with the company, not necessarily with the label on the product that you're buying. And we have, in some cases, you pick a category, we have substituted out brand A for brand B, and customers have come in, perhaps they ask, well, where's brand A? Well, we have brand B, and here are the wonderful characteristics of brand B that our very well trained salespeople would say, and customers buy brand B. They trust MedMen to give them the product at the right price point to match the certain experience that they're looking for. That's where the trust is. Nobody got in their car and drove 10 minutes away to go find brand A again. Now, ultimately, there will be very successful product brands. That's definitely going to happen. It'll take time. It's hard to decide from now which ones those will be, but there will be billion-dollar brands that are built on our shelves in Beverly Hills and Las Vegas and Abbot Kinney and Fifth Avenue, and some of them will be our brands. Now let's talk about the vision. So where we're going to be looking forward, sort of put today's reality aside. So talking about a few components here, let's talk about growing our retail footprint in our core markets. As I mentioned, we're in 12 states, but looking forward, it won't be so much about chasing state number 13 or state number 14. It's the primary objective of the company is to go deeper in the states we're already in. So you look at the business we've already built in Southern California, replicating that in Northern California. Getting our transaction of PharmaCann closed, integrating those 10 stores and additional licenses that they have into formal MedMen brand. We have licenses now for 35 stores in Florida, getting those open. Preparing for adult use looks like it's going to be coming in New York, Illinois, Arizona. So as I said, we have 32 stores open today with the acquisitions that we've announced. Our guidance for the year is to open 16 more stores this calendar year, with 12 of those being in Florida. A look at our four-wall economics, our target economics. We have one store already doing $20 million of revenue annualized. All the rest of them in California have a great trajectory trending that way. Average spend per customer is $80, obviously US. Some of our stores, like in Beverly Hills, it's over $100. Our target four-wall EBITDA margin is 30%. When we reported the December quarter in the MD&A, we broke out that the four-wall margin across the entire country for the company was 17%. In California, it was 24%. So how do we get from there to our target of 30? Well, a couple things. First of all, there's some retail best practices that we're still just starting to implement. There's lots of low-hanging fruit, if you will, to optimize our stores, especially in Southern California. But one clear way that we're going to be doing this is launching our own brands. So in Nevada, we did launch in late October, late last year, our own brand called State Made. So it comes out of our factory in Mustang in Nevada. We have 4 categories: pre-rolls, tinctures, flour, and vape pens. In California, our facility in Desert Hot Springs, our cultivation facility, manufacturing facility is complete in terms of construction. We're waiting for it to get licensed. The intention is to take state-made to other states this year. So what we found is right now in California, we have approximately 50% gross margin just from buying and selling other manufacturers' products. When we have our own products, which you obviously do in Nevada, because you capture the cultivation margin, you capture the processing margin, it's somewhere around 80%, 70, 80%. Now the long-term vision here is for the company to have approximately 50-50 split, 50% being our own products for higher margin, and 50% of our SKUs and sales being other people's products to have that credibility of a retailer to sell the upcoming future brands. And you can see as you do that, there should be a significant lift to the gross margin, which obviously should flow down through to EBITDA margin. So let's talk about data for a minute here. So last year, obviously January 1st, 2018, California became adult use environment. We have over 1 million transactions in California last year. This is really invaluable data. Customers came in for the first time to buy legal cannabis, they did it in our store. And because the government forces retailers as an ID check to scan your driver's license or your passport, we have the data on who came in, how old they are, where they live, what they bought, whether they came back to buy it again or not. And that data is incredibly, incredibly valuable. For example, in our Abbott Kinney store, which is on Venice Beach, we were surprised to learn that 35% of the customers that come into that store don't even live in California. They come from Florida, Texas, Illinois, New York. So now we have an existing database both in California and outside of customers that have come into our store, know the brand, have had a good experience. When we're planning to open a new store, well, there's a cluster of people here that are existing MedMen shoppers, but not necessarily close to a store. Perhaps we can open one closer to them. Also, it gives us the business intelligence to make decisions on launching our own products. So as I said, when we launched State Made, it was done with 4 different verticals, and those weren't a hunch. We had the data in California that showed that those 4 product categories represented 90% of our sales in California. So that's why we started with those 4 in Nevada to begin with. Now there's a lot of commotion and positive exuberance about drinks and where we may be heading on there. But I can tell you drinks are approximately 2% of our sales right now. Now, when the day comes where drinks are taking off and they're, let's say, a much larger percentage, 6, 8, and growing, we'll see that in the data before anybody else at the retail level. And it won't be just that drinks are working. We'll know what sizes, what potencies, what price points, what flavors, what types of packaging. We'll have that data, and eventually, when the time is right, we'll launch our own drink. But it'll be based on what the data says, not a hunch that the company has. And finally, let's talk about technology. Technology is a core part of our business. We just hired a new CTO to help take our tech game to the next level. The first stop, which we already launched, is mobile pickup. So similar to Starbucks, if you know already exactly what you want, you can go online, put in your order. When you get to the store, it's already there waiting for you. You can bypass the line and go straight to pick it up. And when we reported our first quarter after launching mobile pickup, we disclosed that the customers that use mobile pickup had a 20% larger basket size than those who just walked in around the store. So we already saw a lift there. Following lift is when we can take credit cards. Second initiative we're working on the technology front is the loyalty plan. A first version of that should be out later this year. There's a few different aspects to that. The first is obviously customer loyalty. So if I'm traveling, let's say, to Las Vegas, and even if MedMen isn't literally the closest store to the hotel I happen to be staying at, if I have 20 points till I get a free vape pen or however exactly it's formatted, you can be sure I'm going to be seeking out the MedMen. Another thing we'll get is even more data. We'll be able to tell who is the customer that comes in once a month and stocks up on a variety of products. What kind of tailored promotion can I give that person to help them come in more frequently, buy out of their regular routine? Who's the customer that comes in every couple days and buys a little bit of their favorite product? What type of tailored promotion can I give that customer? You can really start to parse it down once you have the data that a loyalty plan gets you. And finally, delivery. There's a lot of enthusiasm about delivery. It's still unclear ultimately how much legal delivery is going to be in terms of market share in California or elsewhere. That said, I think we're as well positioned as anyone else to capitalize on however big delivery is. You'll already be part of MedMen's ecosystem. You'll have the loyalty app. You already know our customers. When the time comes, when the data shows it's time for delivery, we'll add a delivery feature to our app and be able to launch that program. So coming back to conclude is regarding MedMen and why, or sort of the key messages I'd like to take. Number one, $220 million run rate as of last quarter, annualized. Why California? Because it is so critical, because of the trend-setting nature of California. You win California, you're in a position to be able to win the other states. Retail brands and retail versus product brands. So thank you very much. I think I'm over. It's okay. I think I'm over.